How is it that people with different attachment styles respond to the no contact rule? We're going to be getting into this in this video, and you want to make sure that you pay attention because you definitely don't want to inadvertently drive your ex away from you if your intention is to use the no contact rule to somehow bring the two of you closer. And of course, there are a lot of precautions and little, asterisks that we need to go through in this video. So please make sure you watch all the way through to the end to make sure that you don't miss any of the valuable information that we're about to go over here. Hey there, it's Clay with modernlove.life. And of course, today we are talking about attachment styles and the no contact rule. Now, attachment styles have been a very popular thing in recent years. It's sort of the, pop psychology flavor of the week. And we want to be careful about this, though, because it's very easy to look at someone's attachment style and then label them as this type of person. If you are, anxiously attached, if you were to classify me, I would probably come across as anxiously attached. If I was to then look at a partner who's maybe, a fearful avoidant or something, or a dismissive avoidant, I might then be tempted to put a label on them and say, oh, you're this alien creature called a fearful avoidant. I can't ever understand why you would do what you do. I have to interact with you in some sort of alien kind of way. That's dangerous. I don't want you to do that. We have to remember that these are people who are going through an emotional response that is motivating them to behave in the way that they're going to behave. And so we have to keep this in mind as we're going through this. All right, so with that being said, let's also talk about the no contact rule. You're here, you probably know what the no contact rule is. And maybe it might surprise you that I have a sort of controversial opinion on the no contact rule, and that's that I don't think everyone needs to do it. However, there are sometimes cases where it makes sense for you to use no contact. Like if you yourself are in a very difficult emotional place and you're having a hard time dealing with this breakup, or if you just need to take a time out from interacting with your partner because something clearly isn't working, the two of you keep ending up in fights or something like that. Those are valid times to use the no contact rule. I don't think that you should just do it just because, the way that a lot of other people on YouTube seem to indicate. But let's go ahead and get into all of this because, these are all things we've talked about before in this video. So people with the anxious attachment style, they tend to pursue connection because they're afraid of losing it. And they think that if they take an active pursuit in that, then they're likely to be able to hold on to the connection or the love that they have. And so it should come as no surprise that no contact could trigger a sort of fear of abandonment in these sorts of people, in people that could be characterized as an anxious attachment style. It might motivate them to then reach out and contact you. However, they could also become angry if you persist in no contact. So if they try to contact you and you just ignore them and persist in no contact, it could motivate them to become angry because they sense that you are intentionally abandoning them or intentionally severing that line of connection. So again, a lot of the sort of, cookie cutter advice that you might hear out there about no contact, just disappear off the face of the earth. If they call you, just ignore them. This is probably not going to be excellent advice in this sort of situation here. Anxiously attached people, of course, it might make sense to take a step back from each other and do no contact for any number of reasons. But if you want to keep that door of connection open, you have to be mindful about how you are affecting the other person emotionally, how they might interpret your behaviors and how they might interpret your responses. If you were to just sort of put the blindfolds on and just continue with no contact and not talk to them no matter if they contact you or not, you could actually be doing harm to the connection. As we've said before in other videos that are not in any way related to attachment styles, doing no contact in that way sends a very anti-relationship message, which is that when the going gets tough, I go away. When the going gets tough, I shut down and ignore you. And so is that the right message for you to send? Again, I don't know. I don't know everything that happened in your relationship or why the two of you broke up or anything, but chances are that is a less than ideal message to send, especially if you have someone who is very conscious about how connected the two of you are and how responsive you might be to them. So just keep that in mind. By the way, if you like these videos, please feel free to hit that thumbs up button to support the channel, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and hit that notification bell as well too. Moving right along, we also have the fearful avoidant attachment style. And they may respond in a similar way to someone with an anxious attachment style if they err on the side of, more anxiety. So they might actually reach out to you. They might also take sort of continued no contact in spite of them reaching out as something to feel angry about. So they might actually respond in the way that we just described. If they do err more on the avoidant side, they may tend to act more like the dismissive avoidant, which we'll get into in just a moment here. So just know that there's sort of a mixed bag here. You never know which side of the coin you're going to get here. So you have to, as we've talked about again before on this channel, use your understanding of your partner to feel into the situation and to know what the right way to respond for you and for your circumstances are. Don't just take advice from like me or some other person on YouTube and just say, okay, this makes no sense. I don't think this is going to work. Let me just do it. Like, don't do that. Use your knowledge of your partner, their personality, everything from your time together to kind of build an idea of what makes the most sense for you. Of course, take people's opinions and take people's thoughts and theories and things like that into consideration. And if they make sense, use them. But otherwise, don't feel as if you need to. Anyway, moving right along, we have what is known as the dismissive avoidant. These are people that simply are likely to compartmentalize and move on quickly. That is to say, leave the relationship behind, bounce back quickly, perhaps end up in rebounds or something like that when there is a breakup that happens. No contact is probably not going to motivate them so much to open up to you. It's not going to, get them crawling over broken shards of glass, as other people on YouTube might say. Though they might actually appreciate no contact, especially if they feel as if they've been asking for space or if they need space. Because too much contact, too much what they might perceive as pressure to stay connected or to interact or to meet up might come across as controlling and as if it's taking away their independence, as if it's taking away their freedom. And so they might actually appreciate the no contact, and it could actually be perhaps healing to them and make it more likely for them to be responsive when you do get back in contact with them. But just know that it's probably not going to motivate them in a lot of the same ways that it might motivate people with other sorts of emotional profiles. If your partner is particularly, emotionally shut down, emotionally unavailable, no contact may not necessarily have the desired effect, especially if you're using it like, a manipulation or a mind game, the way that oftentimes people do. Again, that's not how I recommend that people use it if they are going to use it, but that is neither here nor there. That is on the onus is on other, content creators that are telling you to do it as a mind game. So as you can see, people are responding to no contact in different ways. And whether or not you want to look at this through the lens of attachment theory or not, it just goes to show you that we're all different and we all have different experiences in life and we're all going to respond to things in a different way. What is, once again, most important is that you look at a person and their response, not so much as an attachment theory profile and say, oh, you're this type, you're that type, you're this other type, but instead to say, okay, hey, when you're in this kind of situation, it causes you to feel this way, and therefore I can understand why you might behave this way. What is it you might actually need if I want you to feel a different way, if I want you to feel welcomed, or if I want you to feel accepted, or whatever. So it's really important, no matter what, to stay connected to the other person emotionally, which is why we've said for years the emotional connection is the most important thing. And it's also very important to have a clear line of communication where you're constantly in touch with the other person in terms of what it is that they want. What is it that they need? Do they need space? If so, can you give that to them? Do they need connection and reassurance? If so, can you give that to them? Do they need something else? Stay in connection through all of this. Anyway, I know that we've covered a lot here, and what you might want to know more is some of the nuance about what we advocate when it comes to the no contact rule. Should you do it? Should you not do it? Let's go ahead and get into that. There's a video series right over here where we get into that in a lot more detail on the no contact rule. Please go ahead and check it out over here, and we'll get into that in the next video. Take care.